Hey, good evening, everyone. It's David here. Um, my heart's broken. Just found out here recently that a couple that I knew had no idea that they were having problems. They got a divorce, and I'll tell you, divorce is a very, very serious problem in this world. I know there's a ton of reasons why. I know there's abuse in relationships and unfaithfulness. I mean, all kinds of difficult things. Irreconcilable differences. That's probably the most common that I hear. And it really breaks my heart to hear about divorce. It's just so destructive. It's so damaging. I mean, it hurts so many people. The spouses themselves and then the children involved. I guess maybe it's not as bad if there's not children, but usually there's children involved. And man, it's so hard for me to hear about divorce. But I wanted to share. I was talking to a brother earlier this week, and it wasn't about divorce. I mean, the topic of divorce didn't get brought up, but the topic of marriage and communication was brought up. And I shared with him a story that happened to me and Amanda about 4 to 5 years ago. And I have her permission to share it. And so she said, and it was it was a very, very difficult time in our marriage. It was actually around Christmas time. We are heading into the Christmas season, and as many people want to talk about celebrating and this and that, the fact is that the holidays, around the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays are some of the biggest times for depression and difficulty in families because of all the expectations, the time off, the money spent, traveling, and I mean, so there's just so many opportunities to have breakdowns of communication and difficulties and stuff. So, but what happened was about 4 or 5 years ago, Amanda and I came to a crossroads. It was very, very difficult. It was at Christmas time, and I mean, gosh, talks about feeling like we were gonna throw in the towel. I mean, it was bad. Our communication was almost not even non-existent, except for angry, and it was challenging. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was in one of the biggest places of desperation in my marriage that I had ever been, and so as I was sharing with this brother what happened, I wanted to share with you guys out there, and I titled this, "Stop, Do This Before You Separate or Divorce." Is in an absolute time of desperation. I was so angry. She was so angry. We weren't talking to each other. It was absolutely, we were on the brink. I mean, who knows? I mean, it was separation. I can't even say, because we were just so far from each other in our relationship. And I cried out to God in even anger. And I said, "God, what do I do?" And this idea came to my mind. And so I grabbed Amanda and I brought her into the room. And she's angry, I'm angry. And once again, 4 years ago, okay? She's angry, I'm angry. And so I grabbed, it was like, I feel like God gave me this idea, because nobody ever told it to me. And so what happens in marriage is, especially when the communication is broken down, is you feel like the other person isn't listening to you, and the second they bring up something that, oh, you're not doing this, you respond with a defensive response like, look at all the things I do, look at all the things I do for our family, look at all, and then it's back and forth, and we just take, the marriage communication just starts to break down, and then it's just about what I do versus what you do, and that's never a recipe for a good communication. So what I did is I grabbed a legal pad and a pen, and I sat her down and I said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. And I promised her, I said, it's going to go both ways. So I sat there with a legal pad and a pen in my hand, and I said, I will sit here, and everything you are frustrated with me about, everything you're angry with me about, everything I'm not doing, everything that you think I need to do better, I will write it down. You won't see a change in my facial expression. I won't interrupt you. I won't defend myself. I won't do anything. I will just sit there, listen to what you say that you're angry with me about, or I need to change. I'll write it down and not say anything. And so we did that. She said, you never plan any dates for us. Okay, I just wrote that down. You're not taking the lead in parenting. Okay, I wrote that down. You're not having a plan for our money. There you go. You don't show me affirmation. All the things, one after another. You don't help me enough around the house. Wrote that down. And by the end of it, I had a page and a half of a legal pad in which I went through, wrote down every single thing. But now, here's what I want to point out. It didn't stop there. I didn't respond to any of the things that she said I needed to do differently or that I was messing up in. But I flipped over the page, and then she had to also do a list of the things she loved about me. And so, boom, she had to tell me, I love your smile. Okay. I love how funny you are. Okay. I love how, you wrestle with the kids. Okay. And I just wrote, and still no facial expression change. I just wrote down what she said she loved about me. Everything. One after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. When my time was done, I went over, handed her the notebook, gave her the same rules. Once again, this is 4 years ago, just to let y'all know, any of y'all that just got on. 4 years ago. So I handed her the notepad with the piece of paper after I did, once again, being the leader of the household, I went first. But then I handed her the notepad, and I did the things that I was frustrated about her, and the things that she wasn't doing, and she had to write it down. She couldn't shake her head. I couldn't shake my head. She couldn't shake her head. She couldn't squint. She couldn't act angry. She couldn't respond. She couldn't be defensive. She just had to write down what I had to say. And then after we did that list, then the other list was the things that I love about her. And she had to write those down. And after that, I grabbed the notepad, and all I did with the most monotone voice was just read every line of what she was frustrated with me about. Every line. I didn't defend myself. I just said, okay, you feel that I don't spend enough time planning dates for us. Okay. Okay, you feel like I'm not taking the lead in parenting. Okay. And then vice versa. She had to do the same thing. She had to read out loud every single thing I said, both on the we'll call it the negative page and then the love page. I can't tell you how amazing that was for our marriage. It seemed like a hopeless situation, and so often in marriage, one of the biggest breakdowns is when people don't feel, one spouse or both spouses don't feel like they're heard without some defensive response. That they can't voice any frustration in a marriage. They can't say, especially as Christians, we can't ever say, we got to just be okay with whatever is going on. And that's just not true. But with this exercise, it allowed us to It allowed us to share what was going on. It allowed us to voice what was going on in our heart. It allowed us to share. But then the idea of sharing what we love about each other, it really changed. I mean, because when you're mad and you're angry, the last thing you want to do is say what you love about the other person. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. But when we did that, it was eye-opening, because in marriage, sometimes we can have these blinders on and all we see is the negative. All we see is the negative. But when we are challenged and we're made to say what we love about that person, no matter how tough the situation is, it changes the dynamic of the whole situation. And I'll tell you, man, it was revolutionary in our marriage. We were able to share what we were going through. We were able to talk about it in a calm way. And then you can talk about things, okay, and then you get in a humble place, and then you start saying, I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna really work on that. I'm gonna work on, showing you that I love you more. I'm gonna work on helping you around the house more. I'm gonna try to be better at setting the course for our parenting. Especially as men, I'm not going to just leave it all on your shoulders. I'm going to step up and be the spiritual leader that you want me to be, and that I need to be, that I should be. And so that's why I titled this, Stop Before You Separate, Before You Do Anything. Make this list. If you have a spouse that's willing to do it. And once again, the ground rules are, you get a legal pad. You take the leadership. First, the things that are frustrating, you allow them to tell you. No facial expressions, no defensive response, no zip. The lips are zipped. You don't say anything, you just listen, and you write down their response. And then you flip it over and you do the things that they love about you, and you write them down. You don't go, oh great, thank you, nothing, no words, zip, and then you hand it over to the next person to do the same thing. And then hopefully by that point, you'll be in a situation mentally where you can talk about the issues, and you can talk about them in a more healthy way. So I hope that's a blessing to you out there. Maybe you don't even need to wait until you're on the brink of separation or divorce, because it's just a great practice. It gives your spouse an opportunity to open up, and it allows you to have some fortitude in your heart to hear that, you know what, you're not perfect, and there's some expectations. So you're not perfect. There's some expectations. You're married to somebody. You have expectations to meet. It's not just sit around and just let it happen. You got to be there. You got to have visions as a married couple. You have to strive to be better, strive to be stronger, strive to be more godly. Like Dallas Willard says, grace is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning. So effort is absolutely required in marriage. So take this practice. I hope it's a blessing to you. It's been a huge blessing in Amanda and I's life. I share that with openness because there's a lot of people that are going through struggles and they don't have any idea what to do, except for yell at each other, fight at each other, get in bed, turn over, both of your backs facing each other, all that other stuff, and it just doesn't produce anything. So be blessed, y'all, and have a great night.